This is probably going to be my 5th spearfishing video or so. I still have not finished editing anything, so if you guys are on this one and have watched the last ones that have come out like back to back to back, that's because I've just been finishing up with my finals. That's been taking quite a while. So this week I'm done. Next week I'm just going to be fully editing and trying to come out to the ocean a bit more. But yeah, that's what I've been up to, and that's why I have not posted any videos for like, now I think it's like been a month and a half, so thanks for being so patient. I'm diving with Eric again today. Eric, you got any thoughts on the dive? I've told you this is a spot where I dove with Tuan, and we caught a bunch of blue rockfish, so I'm trying to get this guy on some blue rockfish today.
Looks like a nice day, man. The conditions look great. Hopefully we can get limits maybe for you. I'll probably just end up getting 2 or 1 or something like that. Keep it low.
I've never gotten limits on anything, so I'm trying to at least maybe get a limit on blue rockfish today, which is 10. And last time I came here, there were a ton, there were hundreds. So hopefully I can shoot 10 and then call it a day. But we'll see how it goes. It looks so much calmer than when Tuan and I came. He was throwing up all over the place and it was so surgy, but now it's just perfectly calm. So let's go. Since I used my Garmin GPS watch to mark where Tuan and I were diving last time I came here, I was able to find the exact spot, and luckily I found a whole school of blue rockfish. This time, not only were there blue rockfish, but there were also olive rockfish swimming around and huge perch. I didn't end up shooting something at first because I was waiting for Eric to take his shot on a fish. I waited on the surface for Eric to reload his gun and take a dive down so he could shoot one of the blue rockfish. On his first dive down, he realized that he was having trouble equalizing. So he went, laid on his float, and tried to figure out why his ears weren't equalizing correctly, which ended up not being the best of ideas. You'll see why in a little bit. But while we were on the surface trying to get that all figured out, the big school of blues had completely left.
They must have moved. We're gonna need to find them again.
I would try to just dive down here.
Eric gave me a 1, which means I'm going to dive. I gave him the thumbs up, which means green light. He took a dive down and everything looked perfectly fine. Little did I know that it was about to go all wrong. He came back up and reported no fish. So we looked for a little while longer, trying to find these blue rockfish. There was a whole school of them, probably like a good 50, and they just disappeared. And remember when I said getting on that float was not a good idea? Well, here's why. After a good 20 minutes of looking for these fish, all of a sudden, they all just popped up and appeared out of nowhere, and they were frenzying on the surface, just going after something, and I had no clue what attracted them until I looked up to tell Eric, and he was just throwing up all over the place. So he got seasick on his float, and since the water was kind of choppy, it probably was not that great that he was on the surface on a moving object. It would have been better if he was in the water. But after assuring me that he was okay, I decided, well, since all the fish are here, I'm gonna catch one. After a couple minutes, Eric said that he was feeling better.
How you feeling?
So I dove down, same spot, trying to find one of those big fish, but I lost them again. Back on the surface, Eric was on his float again.
I feel better, and then when I put on my mask, I just feel sick again. Man, I don't want to go, but I don't feel good, you know what I'm saying?
Maybe just stay for like 5 dives and then you could go, yeah?
So at first, I asked Eric if he would stay for 5 more dives because I thought that either he would feel better after that or that I would catch enough fish to be satisfied in 5 dives and head back in with him. Him throwing up all over the water did give me an idea though. I was going to shoot one of the small fish and chop it up into tiny pieces just like they do for any other big fish, and then that might attract the bigger blue rockfish that I couldn't even get close to come a bit closer. After successfully catching the fish, I decided to enlist Eric's help if he was up for it.
Dude, Eric, you want to help me out? I need you to just start flaking this. Just flake this. For chum.
Focusing on a small object that's moving around in the water with you was probably not a great idea for his seasickness, and he ended up feeling worse.
I literally would stay if I could, but I just started feeling sick from my float too.
Yeah. It happened.
Go back in though. Sorry again.
Yeah, I'll see you later.
Let me know when you're out and stuff.
After watching Eric go back in, I chummed the fish and I just let it go down. I wasn't seeing too many fish on the top, but there on the bottom, I finally saw the big fish come closer, and I knew this was the fish that I was going to get. Instead of swimming towards it, I let the negative buoyancy pull me down, and because it was so curious since I was not moving at all, it came very close to me, and when I had the shot, I took it. So I brought it up, and it actually had one of the fish pieces that I threw down there, which confirmed my suspicion that that big fish was only around because of the chum. Then I threw it on my banks board and headed out for another one. I dove exactly where I caught the last fish, and there were actually two big blue rockfish just hanging around, probably because of the chum too. I went for the bigger one, but instead of going directly to it, I swam alongside it so that I would meet its path rather than swimming towards it and spooking it off. Then at the very last moment, when we were close enough, I turned slowly to it and took the shot. I always bleed my fish immediately, not only because it makes sure that the fish dies quickly, but it also helps preserve the meat because the blood is what tends to rot pretty quickly. After shooting 2 fish from the last school, all the fish were spooked and they didn't want to come anywhere near me, so I had to relocate, but I was successful in finding this other school. Then, my only objective was to find the biggest one. It's kind of hard to focus when you have so many options and so many fish swimming around you. You have to compare all of them, or at least I do, to try to get the biggest one, and it can be really hard to judge how far they are and how big they are, since there's just so many. After taking a dive to observe where the biggest fish were in the school and plan out how I was going to get close to them, I dove down with a specific group of fish in sight. Targeting the biggest fish that I saw, I lined up the shot, and you can tell here that I did not have my safety off, which is why the gun moves again. It was about to spook, so close to spooking, but I was able to turn the safety off really quickly and then shoot it in the back of the tail. Then I bled it, put it on the banks board, and went down for more. After catching that last fish, I lost the school I caught it from, so I had to find another school. But here, it really wasn't that difficult. In this school, I wasn't able to find any big blue rockfish, but as I was heading up early from the dive, I saw this olive rockfish just swim by, and I decided I would just take a shot at it because it's getting super choppy and I'm gonna get out of here soon. As I was contemplating getting 2 more fish and heading out, I found this massive school, and as you can see, off in the very distance, there are some really big rockfish. I just couldn't get to them because as much as I tried to swim towards them, they would just swim away. After diving for such a long time, I was getting pretty exhausted and I didn't want to keep diving super far down and fighting all of the current and all of the waves that were out in the open water. So I just went back into the shallower end of the pool, hoping that on my way out I'd be able to catch one more fish. This spot had a lot of good holes, a lot of places that I would think are good spots for lingcod, good spots for rockfish, but I didn't really see anything. But it was kind of empty. I don't know exactly why that is. I don't think this spot is very fished out. Last time when I came with Tuan, we encountered the same thing. We didn't see many fish here. Finally, just when I was going back in, I saw this rockfish and it was a pretty good size, so I went for it. You can see me taking my time as I very carefully try to go for the brain. My aim was off, but you can see that the fish did not move after the shot. When I bring it up from the water, you can see that it's vibrating. That's something that will happen to fish if you spine them, which is when you break through the spine and it breaks their nervous system, so their muscles are twitching all over the place. Alright you guys, I'm just getting out of this dive. It was pretty successful. We got in at around 9 o'clock. Eric got seasick at around 9:40, so he headed out at like 10, just throwing up all over the place. His throw up actually chummed the water and all the blue rockfish were going crazy for it. Unfortunately, yeah, he didn't stay to chum the water, so he just left. Hopefully we'll have a better dive with him next time. But it's still fun to have him come out with me. It's just too bad that he got seasick. I don't really get too seasick in the water, but I mean the past 3 divers that I've dived with, one of them, it was their first time, so it kind of makes sense. They've all thrown up. So 2 dives ago, Tuan's dad was throwing up, and then a dive ago, Tuan was throwing up. Then this dive, Eric was throwing up. So I guess seasickness is pretty common. I was actually listening to the Noob Spiro podcast, and apparently a lot of people take seasickness pills and try different remedies to not get seasick. I fortunately do not get very seasick on a boat or diving, so I can just enjoy it without feeling like, oh, I'm gonna throw up, or like just feeling bad in general, because if I did feel like that, it wouldn't be as fun. So I don't blame Eric at all for going in early. He's coming out for fun, you know. So I'm glad that we got to dive together again. I hope that we can dive again later on in the future, and we probably will. He actually has caught halibut from a kayak before, and I've never done that, so I totally want to do that. I'm probably gonna go kayaking with him sometime. He has a tandem setup, but I'm gonna see if I can go in my own kayak. That way I can have all my setup for the video and for everything I want to do. I'm also getting a drone, so you guys are probably gonna see some nice aerial shots. I've had the DJI drone since like the Phantom 1, and I've had every single drone they've released, you know, except for a couple. But I never did anything with the footage, and I never did anything with the old GoPros that I'd have. But now that I have this YouTube channel, I really want to get some drone shots, because the places I go diving, the places I go fishing, they are some beautiful places, and I really want to show you guys just how cool the scenery looks. Like the waves on the rocks over here are insane. Sometimes they're really big, but I'm not able to capture that because I don't go over there with my GoPro. But I know you guys all want to see my catch. I was trying to limit, yeah, I know I've been saying that every single time. I was trying to limit, but I decided to just go on 5 because Eric wasn't here, so I had no one to back me up. So I just ended the dive at around 1 o'clock, so a 4-hour dive. I also didn't push too hard to get some of the bigger rockfish that I saw deeper down. I was diving probably around 35 feet today. Yeah, I saw some huge blue rockfish, probably around 45 feet, but I didn't want to push it because my dive time was already at 1 minute. I generally don't go over 1 minute. That's just how it is. So these blue rockfish school up, and I tried to get the biggest one. That's why I had a lot of dives where I'd go down and I just observe the fish. Which one's the biggest? Where are they at? And also, if I didn't just dive down and go in guns blazing, the fish kind of get used to you. And so they let you kind of come closer to them after multiple dives. So I just started to do that so that I could get better shots. on bigger fish. Usually the small fish aren't too scared at first, but those bigger fish that you want, they're pretty scared. I mean, they got big for a reason, so they tend to stay away, and it takes a lot of time for them to get used to you. Also, if your dive time is pretty great, then you can stay down there long enough for them to just be curious enough to turn around back and swim to you. I actually had a lot of fish do that today, though my dive time is not that much. It's around like 1 minute. I could probably do like 120, but I've never tried because there's no need. And also I usually don't have someone diving with me. Maybe next time I dive with Juan or Eric, I will try to go deeper and for longer. Let me get on shore and I'll show you guys just how big these fish are, because these blue rockfish are really, really big. Okay, this time before I fillet them, I will show you guys the fish. All right, there we are. I think that's in the sun, right? Yep, there we are. These are the fish that I caught today. As you can see, these blues are pretty big. I tried to go for the biggest blue in the school, and usually I was pretty successful. One time I saw a gigantic blue, but it wouldn't let me get close enough, and it was staying around 45 feet after I would dive for it, so I wasn't able to get close to that. But a pretty nice catch. None of this fish goes to waste. I mostly just cook it for my family. This will be one fish each for all of my family, so that's great. The past couple times I've just been giving it to my girlfriend's family. The past couple times I've just been cooking it up for my... So rude. We'll wait till they're done. Are you done? So the past couple times I've just been cooking it up for my girlfriend's family. Normally if I cook it at my house, I have a family of 5, so we eat a lot, and 3 fish will not be enough for any of us. It's not even like a snack. So now that I have 5 fish, it's gonna be a nice meal. And this was an excellent dive. I just enjoyed being able to dive 30 feet every single time, feeling great, and I can't wait to do it again. Catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.